So good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm George Hidalgo, Club President. Thanks for joining us today. So my opening message today about the importance of our Rotary Club. Now there are many ways to describe our Rotary Club. We are a center of influence where people who care about our community come together to shape its future. We are a conduit for change since we contribute our time and resources by volunteering, giving generous grants to help those in need, and even providing scholarships to send our best and brightest to college. We are a professional hub where we can network and make important connections. So just as importantly, our club is a meeting place where we make new friends and catch up with old ones. We have fun together and we brighten each other's day. Now we come from so many different backgrounds. Think about it. We represent so many professions. We have different religious and political beliefs, but we respect each other and we're good at discovering our common ground. Our Rotary Club is special. Now we've stayed together during the most unusual circumstance of our lifetime, a worldwide pandemic. And now, thanks to 2 vaccines and another one in the works, we can finally see the end. Now, the last stretch of a long wait is always the hardest. Now, we're anxious for it to be over. And our virtual meetings will come to an end sometime in 2021, most likely gradually, and always following CDC and Department of Health guidelines. Now, we'll get to see each other in person, shake hands, give old friends a hug. We'll complain about things, we'll argue, we'll laugh, and we'll love being in each other's presence again. Our Rotary Club is a special place. It's a special bond that we share. Now, this period has made us realize just how special it really is. And let's keep this feeling of eagerness and anticipation alive so we can hit the ground running when we get together again soon. Let's move on to our opening music. Ellis Waller play a patriotic song, God Bless America, on his bagpipes, followed by Jeff Bartell and Bob Dindor's rendition of Piano Man.
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. The regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. He says, "Jeff, can you play me a memory?" I'm not really sure how it goes, but it's sad and it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. La 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 da da da. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody, and you've got us feeling all right. It's a pretty good crowd for a Wednesday. And Pat Jenkins, she gives us a smile, 'cause she knows that it's Rotary they are coming to see, to forget about COVID for a while. Dum, 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 dum.
So I'm pleased to announce that we have a new member joining our club today. Gloria Reyes has been loaned the classification of community service and is CEO of Briar Patch Youth Services. Now, she's born in Watoma, Wisconsin, and she came to Madison in 1975. Gloria makes her home on Tom Scott Trail and has 2 children. Now, she holds a bachelor's degree in behavioral science and a law and criminal justice certificate from UW-Madison. She also holds a master's degree in public administration and security management from the American Military University. Now, Gloria serves as president of the Madison Metropolitan School Board. Obviously, with this pandemic, she's been awfully busy. Now, she's also served on the boards of Domestic Abuse Intervention Services and the YWCA, and she has also served as board president of Centro Hispano of Dane County. So she's also a law enforcement academy and criminal justice instructor at Madison College. She's also a national consultant on racial equity in law enforcement. Now, Gloria enjoys reading, crocheting, knitting. So obviously she keeps pretty busy. So Stan Morales is her sponsor. Please join me in welcoming Gloria to our club where she will connect, grow, and serve with all of us. Let's give her a warm welcome. Well, we have birthday to celebrate with a little bit of wisdom that complements Rotary's mission, and we encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our Club Synergy Scholarship Fund. So January 31st, Dennis Berkey. January 31st, Dave Dukow. February 1st, Mike Hosley. February 2nd, Dan Thompson. February 3rd, Val Lightson. February 4th, Cheryl Wickey, who is also on our board of directors. February 6th, Dana Corbett. Now, thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. Please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. So Casey Okers will play Happy Birthday on the flute. Casey? previous announcement about the Club VP update that I was muted, so I apologize for that. So let me read it again. I want members to know about an important update pertaining to our upcoming Rotary year. Mark Moody was our Vice President and would have become President July 1st. Mark's plans has changed, however, and he would move into Florida later this year, so he's decided to retire down in Florida. So our board is working on a replacement for Mark, and we'll let you know once we have a new Vice President in place. So with that, can we go on to the speaker? Okay, sounds like the Rotary International announcement was also muted. So quick update on Rotary International Convention. Was scheduled for June 12th to 16th. So going to be held in Taipei, Taiwan. However, with the ongoing threat of COVID-19, it will now be a virtual event in response. So you can hear great speakers and connect again by Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whichever virtual platform they decide to use. Can we go on to the speaker or what? Okay. We ready? Okay. So our program today is about Wisconsin's gaming culture. Now, games have become increasingly popular during the pandemic as families are spending more time together at home. Now, Jessica Carrier leads the marketing team for Noble Knight Games, and she will be our speaker. Noble Knight Games was founded in 1997 in Janesville and started with 5 employees. Now, they moved to a 45,000 square foot building in Fitchburg in 2018. Now, the company has 35 employees now, and they have the largest selection of games in the world. Jessica is going to tell us more about the gaming culture and how much it impacts our lives. So we look forward to your presentation, Jessica, and we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Poli Plus Fund as a way to say thanks for speaking to us today. Now,
Hi, I'm Jess Carrier with Noble Knight Games. I'm here in our storefront to let you know that we are going to be telling you a little bit about who we are and what we do today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the history of Wisconsin and gaming, the benefits of gaming, what we do and why we're so special, and a little bit more about what the future holds for gaming. So stick with us and we hope you enjoy. So Dan, tell me a little bit about who Noble Knight Games is and what we do.
Sure, yeah, Noble Knight Games, we carry the largest selection of tabletop games in the entire world right here in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. We carry board games like Catan, Ticket to Ride, Monopoly is one of the more popular ones that everybody's heard of. Card games like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, miniature games, role-playing games, basically anything that you can play on a tabletop, we carry it right here at Noble Knight.
That's fantastic. And when did this begin? When did the story of Noble Knight Games get started?
So my brother Aaron is the owner and founder of Noble Knight, and it began back in the 90s from 2 things, basically his love for Dungeons and Dragons, and 2, his desire to get off the assembly line at General Motors. And so Aaron would come up into the Madison area, he'd go to game stores and bookstores, and he'd find books and games that he thought he could flip and make more money on, and then put those items that he bought up on his AOL.com site, and that's how Noble Knight was born.
Well, it's come a long way since then too, but it sounds like it kind of got started in the business of purchasing games from individuals, and that's something we still do, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So every day, one of our foundations of the business is buying and selling games from our customers. And so we buy here locally in Madison with people coming into the store, and then we also have customers all over the country and world that send us in their lists of their games, and we provide quotes, and then we provide free shipping to get them to us. So that's part of the reason why we have the largest selection of games in the world, is how we get them.
And also part of why we carry some things that no one else has, right? Absolutely,
yeah. We're very well known for carrying rare and out-of-print items and collectible items, and yeah, if you're looking for something rare and out-of-print, we're the place to look.
Well, what about new games and the newest releases?
We also pick up all the new releases that come out in the U.S. Almost every release that comes out we pick up, and we also import from all over the world as well. So we import from Europe and from Japan, Australia, New Zealand. We also have a very large selection of new releases.
Wow. So we're getting games from all over the world. Where are we providing those games, and who are we providing them to?
So our customers are indeed all over the world. We ship orders every day, 7 days a week, both domestically in the United States, and then we export all over the world as well. And so about 20% of our business is international, and again, we're shipping just all over the world to hundreds of countries. Our customer base is anything from casual gamers, like parents looking to play with their kids, to professional gamers and everything in between. People of all ages and interests, all types of gamers.
Are people playing here at the store as well?
Not currently because of COVID, but prior to COVID, we had play nights and events every day of the week, and it was a very, very happening spot, and we were really excited about all those events, and we are really excited about, once it's safe, once COVID is over, to get back to doing events in our play space again.
We definitely are. And part of the reason why we're here in Fitchburg is because we wanted to have that kind of in-store play. Can you tell me a little bit more about that decision to move to the area?
Yeah, we were in Janesville for about 20 years, and we simply ran out of space. We ran out of space in our warehouse for us to store product, and then we also ran out of office space. We weren't able to hire enough employees, and so when we were looking for a new home, we knew we looked to Madison because Madison has such a great gaming culture, from game publishers to game distributors are in the Madison area, to all of the customers, and just the great culture up here in Madison. We thought it was a perfect fit for us. We moved a couple years ago, built this building up here in Fitchburg, and we couldn't be happier.
Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. The first tabletop role-playing game, in fact. In role-playing games, participants take on the part of characters in a shared story. One player usually plays the role of referee or game master, playing the part of all supporting characters who might help or hinder the main characters, as well as the villains and the monsters who oppose them. It's usually the game master's job to set the stage for the plot and the story and to adjudicate the rules. But the events of the game itself, what the players do, is up to the group. Whenever there's a conflict, say a hand-to-hand fight between your character and a fire-breathing dragon, most role-playing games use dice to determine what happens. Dungeons & Dragons is all about fantasy, swords and sorcery adventures, and that remains the most popular genre for role-playing games. But there are other games as well, games set in the Star Wars galaxy, in Tolkien's Middle-earth, and in 100 other genres and settings, from the historic to the modern. With role-playing games, the only limit is your imagination. And in the past few years, there's been a real renaissance in games like these. 2019 alone saw the publication of over 3,000 brand new board games. Role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons have appeared in TV shows and in YouTube streams viewed by millions of fans. It's safe to say that tabletop gaming has gone mainstream. Here in Wisconsin, we've loved games since before it was cool. And why not? Maybe it's the need to keep busy indoors during the long, cold winters. Or maybe it's just our friendly Wisconsin culture. Role-playing games were born here, penned by Lake Geneva's Gary Gygax, and Wisconsin was Dungeons & Dragons headquarters from the 1970s until just before the turn of the new millennium. And the largest tabletop gaming convention in the world, Gen Con, was founded in Wisconsin and hosted here for over 30 years. Games are definitely a part of our culture. The Madison area is home to more game stores per capita than perhaps any other city in America. Between miniature war games, board games, and role-playing games, thousands of Wisconsinites gather weekly with friends and family to play games. Tabletop gaming, in its DNA, is definitely a part of our state's history.
I think it's really easy for people to feel intimidated by the sheer breadth of the kinds of games that are available today. There's so many new things available. It's not just checkers and chess and Parcheesi anymore. Those are great games. They're classics for a reason. But there's so many new things to experience. And when you see a website like ours where we have literally hundreds of thousands of games, it can be difficult to know where to start. So one of the things I can suggest is talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your relatives, talk to your friendly local game store like us, or visit our website. Look at what's available. Find out something that fits you, something that pulls at you. Are you into sci-fi? Are you into fantasy? Are you into golf? Are you into dogs? Whatever there is that entices you and gets you emotionally invested is going to help you find a launching point for your gaming experience. And we can help you complete your quest for that perfect game. There are benefits to games of all kinds. It doesn't have to be an educational game for someone to learn something from it. For example, in the very young, even games that aren't educational can help teach things like reading skills, color recognition, pattern establishment, object permanence. And there are also social things that are available. So when you play with someone else, you're getting that experience of cooperating with them, taking your turns. And you can also learn things like how to win gracefully and lose gracefully. Those are incredibly important skills that people don't place enough emphasis on. Winning or losing with grace is a very important skill. So no matter whether you're trying to teach a child how to memorize something or recognize something, or you're just looking to have fun, there is an emotional and physical and mental benefit to playing something that is a physical tabletop game. When you interact with something physically and visually and emotionally, it helps create mental neural pathways that stay open longer and help you retain the information better. So if you talk to any educator, they'll tell you that teaching with games is not only recommended, it's pretty much indispensable. It helps kids and adults stay both more invested in the learning process, retain the information longer, and feel better about learning. So if you present something in the form of a game, it's going to be more enjoyable to learn, you'll want to keep learning it, and it's going to stick in your brain longer. And speaking of brains, it's been shown that those who game throughout their life and continue to game into their advanced adulthood show a slower onset of dementia. It fights the speed of Alzheimer's. There's a tremendous benefit to anything like games or music where, you have that physical interaction, an emotional value, and a mental process. So while you can be learning about pattern recognition, spatial reasoning, strategic thinking, those are all things that you are doing when you play a tabletop game. Even if you're not trying to learn from a game, you're going to learn something from any game you play. So if you need help finding something that you can enjoy and that can help keep your mind active and your heart open and having fun, whether it be by yourself, with your family, with your friends, we can help. And we have everything. We have things from all over the world, and we can provide them to anyone in the world. So let us help you. We want you to start gaming, and I promise we will talk to you about games anytime. It's pretty much our favorite thing. Could you speak a little bit to the kinds of games that have become popular in the last 10, 20 years and how they differ from the classic games we might be familiar with from our childhood?
So classic games from whose childhood is the big question. The classic games that I grew up with are probably going to be different than the classic games that my parents grew up with.
Sure.
But there was always the standard answer of the Monopolies, the Parcheesi, the Chutes and Ladders, which has been around for ages, the Candylands for the kids and whatnot. What we're seeing now is bigger respect and emphasis placed on games that can be used as educational tools, games that move beyond the roll a die and move a piece on the board, games that move beyond, okay, money is our only objective. We got our money in our hotels, and that's it. Whoever is the last person standing is the actual winner. We've seen bigger emphasis on international themes in games, or gaming paradigms from other countries, influence of how Europeans approach games versus how Americans tend to approach games. I don't know the origin of all classic games, but the classic American games are the Sorry, the Chutes and Ladders, the Monopolies, and what they all have in common is it's roll a die or maybe draw a card and progress on the board that way. And a lot of the games from Europe rely much less on the luck mechanic of rolling dice, or they rely much less on a board as progression, as physical path mechanic. They do a lot more with managing multiple resources, not just, say, money. They do a lot more with less randomness and more strategy, so you have to plot 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 moves ahead, or you have to react to what happened just that turn. It's more, all right, I have a chain that I think I can set up. You saw probably a lot of that first with people dipping their feet in the market with Settlers of Catan, when Settlers of Catan first came out.
Sure.
But the one that really caught fire and caused almost an avalanche was the game Agricola, when that first came out. And
what's that one about?
Shoveling bowl fooey.
Agricultural
farming.
It's a lot more fun than it sounds.
Yes. I mean, and I'm speaking as someone from Wisconsin, where we have a plethora of farms, and this game is actually a lot of fun. You don't have to be from Wisconsin to appreciate that.
So the result of the game is more heavily influenced by your decisions and your planning versus the luck of the roll, or what happens when you land on a certain space by accident.
Absolutely. And it's the accident is the big thing. There's very little room in worker placement games for something to happen by accident. You might get out strategized, you might get out planned, someone might take a turn before you and completely throw everything off. But it's very rare that a situation comes up that's the equivalent of, I need to roll at least a 3, and oh darn, I rolled a 2. It is all down to your choice that you can make in the moment, as opposed to reacting to what the dice or the cards told you to react to. So there's a little game, very obscure, no one's ever heard of it, called Magic the Gathering. Not a huge global phenomenon that's printed in dozens upon dozens of languages. Not one that people can absolutely, I'm being very sarcastic, people make their living playing it. That came out in 93. And that led to a big explosion, what's called a collectible card game, where the idea, it's like buying baseball cards, but there's a game attached to it. So kind of like when you bought your sports cards, and there would be some players that you would want more than others, and you would never know what you were going to get out of that pack, other than really bad gum. And that was it. And they were there for collecting or trading or maybe investing. Then games came along like Magic the Gathering, and probably the most well-known one second to that is Pokemon. And now, thankfully, get rid of the gum. And now there's an actual game attached to the cards that you can buy. You have to build a competitive deck and then play against someone else. And the idea behind these games is certain cards are going to be more rare than others, just like the top players versus the rookie players. But now it is, how well can I construct a deck within whatever parameters we're playing with, versus how well can you construct your deck? And now we'll play the actual game. So we're not starting from the same point. We're not starting from the same box. We're actually going into our collections that maybe I've been doing it for 2 years, but you've been doing it for 10. So you have a bigger collection.
Now, a collectible card game, you're building a deck to play with, and then there's also something called a deck builder game.
Yes.
How are those different?
The idea of a deck building game, and this started most likely with one called Dominion. The idea of a deck building game is we are going to start with an identical deck of cards. And it could be 2 of us, 3 of us, up to 4, maybe up to 6. And we're going to have a pool of cards that we are going to, during the course of the game, construct our deck from. So part of the game progress is modifying our deck and adding to our deck. And now what we have to do is see who builds the best machine. And usually with a deck building game, the variable is what's the available pool. Every single gameplay, usually what you get your fun from is, how is the pool different from the last time we played? What can we find between these cards? What's the synergy now? Even though we've only changed 1 or 2 cards out.
Well, speaking of scenarios and different kinds of ways that the available units interact, as it were, another thing that we're really big on here at Noble Knight Games is war games.
A lot of them originally were just based on historical scenarios or recreating historical scenarios. Arguably, and in fact, I don't think many historians would argue this point, wargaming saved the British in World War II because they would wargame out scenarios based on what they knew the German U-boats could do, and they would say, all right, well, XYZ happened. How did the Germans manage to surprise us? And they would actually use a war game to figure out how the U-boats were operating, what strategies they were using, and how they could counter strategies with first metal pressing and then plastic molds and now even 3D printing. Now there's a whole section of war games that people insist are just miniature games. They came from the same spot. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But now you will get miniature gamers who, part of the fun is buying your little plastic or metal or pewter soldiers and assembling them and painting them, and then you push them around the map.
Well, that's something that we actually had a lot of events here at the store focused on. We had a lot of really excellent paint days.
The before times.
Yeah. So we look forward to getting back to that again.
Been playing role-playing games since, back in high school. Used to play actually at Lake Geneva, of all places, Vampire, and kind of kind of thing. Lately, I'm playing a lot of D&D, mostly at gaming stores. They have a great thing now. We have Adventure League, where you can just pop into a random game store when they have the Adventure League night and kind of just drop into a group.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely used to have that here on site, but with COVID times currently, things have been changing for gamers, not just here at our store, but around the world. How has that impacted you and your games of late?
Well, when those games eventually got shut down, they kind of transitioned more online. So a lot of people went to Roll20, or they would use just other programs just to keep in touch. And so I started up a game a game for my family. So I got my sister, my little nephew in, and my girlfriend, and we just kind of ran with it. It was just an excuse to get together, but ended up being kind of fun.
That's awesome. So you're still finding ways to play the games that are physical tabletop games with each other, but from anywhere in the world, and maintaining that social distancing.
It's a bit different, though, because it's a little bit more difficult to role play, but yet it's still just so great to see everyone. Like, just connecting in general is so important. But there is screen fatigue you have to worry about.
Sure.
So like, as my nephew, as his school went to online classes, my sister, her job went online, they just kind of lost taste for playing D&D because they're just in front of a screen all day. It's hard to want to play that at night then.
Yeah, because part of the appeal of those tabletop games is kind of breaking away from the screen sometimes, right? So, yeah. Do you think that when COVID stops, you guys are going to continue playing those games online, or do you feel like it's going to kind of ease itself out and go back towards the table?
I'll definitely be playing in stores as soon as we can do that again, because there is something I really miss about just hanging out with people, meeting new friends, rolling the dice. But for my friends, we're definitely probably going to keep playing online because it's just so nice to see everyone.
Well, it's a changing world. We're finding new ways to game with one another, no matter what's going on. So it's kind of an exciting new development where there's that sense of people breaking away from the screen to play tabletop games, and then also tabletop games moving online so that they can keep going for those. So are you looking forward to any particular developments in the online gaming world as relates to Dungeons and Dragons? But
I'm looking forward to the next D&D book coming out, because a Candlekeep one, I think.
Yeah, exciting. Well, we have lots of new releases for D&D coming soon, so you can find them here. You can also find resources online, and it's really fantastic just to know that people are keeping that alive and keeping the gaming going. That connection with one another is really important. What are some of the best games that you would say would be a good place for someone to start if they're looking to get into the hobby for the first time, or maybe they haven't played a board game in 10, 20, 30 years? What would you recommend as a jump-off point?
So a lot of it depends on how many people, but let's assume for the sake of this argument a family of 2 to 4, or a group of 2 to 4. I would recommend games like Azul, one that came out a few years ago. Very fantastic game, Settlers of Catan, but now shortened down just to Catan. Wonderful game about markets, a lot more interesting than it sounds, with a trading element where you have to negotiate with the people around the table. I would suggest the game Carcassonne for people who have a fascination with that. They like I have to react to this moment to what I rolled, now change it to what I drew from a map tile, and I have to build a French countryside in the medieval era, and I have to react to how everybody else placed their map. And it's actually one of the few games that says it's great for 2 people and up. That means that it's a wonderful 2-player game.
What would you recommend for someone who might be most familiar with games like euchre or cribbage?
There's a fantastic game called Wizard, which keeps people in their trick-taking realm, but now expands that 52 deck of cards by another 8. It adds a short suit that's blue, and now you have a little bit more of the betting element from euchre, but now you've got a 5th suit that behaves completely differently that you have to adapt to.
A lot of people have a hard time getting their kids to try something because it doesn't look like it's enticing to them. What kinds of things are out there now that are skinned to make the game look more appealing for younger and more modern audiences?
Gosh, how much time do you have? For kids as young as 4, there's a fantastic company called Haba, which makes games that are bright and colorful, but without being overly busy or overly complicated. They're fantastic games to teach kids early literacy, to teach kids basic math, and to teach things as simple as cooperation or manual dexterity, all wrapped up in incredibly colorful, vibrant, bright, fun-looking packages.
What about for teenagers or people that, we hear parents talk a lot about trying to break their teens away from the screen. What are some games that might do well and placed in those kind of situations?
A lot of that is going to get down to what the kids like to do on their screens. So you have to figure out, what are they, the Fortnite players? Are they the Pokemon Online players? What is their obsession on their screen? And then you can break out of that into a different sort of game. So for the kids who love things like Fortnite, like the game Zombicide, which is an action-oriented zombie survival game, which, okay, it's about the same level of aggression. I'm not going to say violence, of aggression they've seen in your Fortnites, but it's cooperative, so they actually have to work together and communicate together. For the kids who have really gotten into Among Us, there is a whole genre of hidden traitor games. And now you have games like Are You the Werewolf, or Mafia de Cuba, or Resistance, where you have to figure out who around the table is the traitor and still accomplish an objective in the game, but in ways that you can't do it on the screen. So now you have to actually manage your body language, and you have to actually read other people's body language.
What would you recommend for people who aren't sure what the best game for someone and their interests would be?
Talk to people.
People like, I don't know, game
Like
store employees?
Game store employees? People who love this hobby so much they made it their living? No, we'd be terrible choices.
Definitely. What's in the future for Noble Knight Games?
So we are constantly working to improve our business. I'm definitely one that believes that if you're not constantly working to improve, you might not be here. So we are constantly working to improve. Some things that we're really excited about coming up in the first half of 2021 we are working on a new content website for our business. And so this is going to give a little more personality to our business and be a place where we post news about Noble Knight, new releases, publisher spotlights, unboxing videos of cool things that come in. So we were really excited about the content site. We also have another number of internal initiatives that we're doing to improve our efficiencies and get games listed quicker and more timely for our customers. And yeah, we've got a number of projects on the books that we're excited about.
Okay, well, thank you for that presentation. For those interested, we will now move to the live Q&A session via Zoom. So you can see the link in the chat or find the link in this morning's email from the Rotary office. So thanks to everyone who attended today's meeting. We are adjourned.